But I am excited to be here for Student Takeover, and I wanted to start out. If you don't know who I am, my name is John. I am the student pastor here at Lindenwold. I'm responsible for like 80% of the reason that I like you all being mad, all right? We're loud. Faith, can we look at, if you ever hear somebody super loud during the services in here, it's Faith. This girl named Faith. Faith, where are you at? That's Faith right there. Overly loud, super excited. I don't know if she's excited to be at church or if she just had too much chocolate milk this morning, but she's always loud, all right? I want to talk to you, though, about my dad a little bit. My dad and I are getting ready to do something that I've wanted to do forever, all right? My dad is not an outdoor guy. If you know my dad, he hates everything to do with outdoors. He hates flying. He hates boats, he hates guns, he hates everything, right? He doesn't like beards, and that's like messed up to me, right? But my dad and I are getting ready tomorrow. I'm actually leaving here, and I'm going to Louisiana, and I'm going to go, and there's a guy named Roger that is down there, and Roger, he goes alligator hunting, all right? And apparently, I was like, man, is there a season that we're supposed to be doing this? And Roger said, man, there is a season that we're supposed to be doing this, but I don't follow the rules like that, and so we're going. And so I said, sounds good, man, I'm in. And so basically, we convinced my dad to go alligator hunting with us in the swamps of Louisiana, and I cannot wait to do that. I just can't wait. I've been telling him over the phone and stuff, hey, Dad, once you take your dress off, put your boots on, it'll be fun. And I've just been trying to mess with him so hard because he's always messed with me my whole life. I finally am like old enough where I'm not like nervous to make a joke in front of him anymore, if that makes sense. Like it's okay. And if it's not okay, he's so far away that it's not going to matter. And so I am excited to go down there. But something my dad told me growing up, actually it wasn't really growing up, you guys were here for it, was when he had his heart surgery. If you remember that, that was a big deal for our family. We didn't take it lightly. We didn't know how real it was. We knew that Dad was going to have a bypass surgery, but there was a point in time where me and my brothers, we kind of just got into the room with him right before he went in, and Dad was super nervous. And man, that's hard to see somebody that you love and respect and that's always been like your Superman to be like scared. You know what I mean? That's the worst. Dad was always the strong guy. If there was a spider that was too big for us, he would go kill it, right? And Dad was always that guy. And to see Dad there, and he kind of had tears in his eyes. And I sat next to him, and I said, Dad, what's the most important thing that you want me to know? And he kind of just looked over at me, and it was a scary question to ask, but I didn't know, man. I didn't know how serious it was or not. And Dad told me something that really made a lot of sense, and scripturally I've read it a lot, but Dad said this. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, John. And for me, I was like, all right, Dad, you're going to be like Jesus, okay? That's what Jesus said when they said, hey, what's the most important thing? And Dad said, listen, there's nothing more important than loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And so I said, all right, Dad. And that was kind of that. He went to surgery. Long story short, he got out of there. Like a day and a half later, he was up out of bed, completely dressed. He had moved the chair. If you know Dad, then you know this is awesome. He moves the chair right in front of the door. So there's just enough room for like the door to open. And he's sitting there with his bags. And they're like, hey, you've got like 2 more days here. And he's like, I'm getting out right now. And they're like, no, you're not getting out. And he's like, let me out right now, all right? And he ended up getting out later that night. But I want to talk to you around the subject. We're going to come back to that scripture. I want to talk to you the subject. If you're taking notes, if you're not taking notes, man, I encourage you to get something out to take notes. If you have a phone, put them in there. Don't look at Facebook while I'm teaching, though. False gods promise what only the true God can provide. Write that down, and if you don't write it down in your head or on your heart or something, because this is the subject that I want to talk to you about this morning. This is a very important thing to get. All right, I want to talk to you around the Bible character Elijah. Look at somebody and say Elijah. Look at somebody, hey, I'm going to wake you up at some point, man. We try to play loud music. We try to play good music. Look at somebody and say Elijah. Thank you. All right, Elijah. Now, I want to give you a little bit of context before we get into our scripture. Elijah was meeting with King Ahab, right? And there was this discrepancy that God went and he told Elijah, he said, hey, it's not going to rain, Elijah, until you pray for it. Well, Ahab didn't like that. He's the ruler, and the crops are dying, and there's this big famine. Nothing is growing, and and we see this contact that's made between Elijah and Ahab in 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings chapter 18 is where we're going to be, and I'm going to read this and kind of give you some context as we go through this. It says this in verse 17. It says, "And it came to pass, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, Art thou that troubleth Israel? And Elijah said, Whoa, 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 it's not me who's troubling Israel. He said, I have not troubled Israel, but you and your father's house, and that you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast followed Balaam." Right? So what happens is this. They get together, they're meeting, and Ahab's like, bro, it's you. What are you doing? Right? Pray for rain. People are dying. And he's like, whoa, it's not me. I'm not the one that's causing all these issues. It's you. Right? You're the one that won't follow Jesus. It's you and your father's house. You guys are serving this God named Baal. Now, I want to explain something to you this morning that is very important. The word polytheistic. Look at somebody and say polytheistic. I'm going to wake you up, I promise. Look at somebody again. Look at the same person. Say, sorry for saying that low. Polytheistic. Say it. There we go. Polytheism is this, right? Polytheism is the belief in multiple gods, right? And so they're in a culture right now where there are a lot of people serving a lot of different things. All right, Baal being one that we can read about right now, but culturally there were so many gods that these people would serve. All right, and the crazy thing is this: we don't live in a culture today that we would say like, hey, do you know anybody that serves Baal? I don't know anybody that serves Baal, but I believe that we live in a culture today that serves a lot of different things that are more culturally acceptable. I think that false gods promise what only the true God can provide. And with that concept in mind, I think for a lot of people, we serve our families. We serve our homes. We serve our relationships. We serve ourselves. For most of us in this room, our cell phone. Right? And it's culturally acceptable. I know for me, something that takes the place of God in my life. And here's the thing. Here's what I want to make sure you know. When I say something that gets in the way of God, here's what I mean. I don't mean stuff that like, hey, it's sinful stuff that gets in the way. I'm talking about good stuff. Okay stuff can still get in the way of God. For me, my situation, I've always struggled with my job. And I don't mean my job like I hate it or anything like that. I've struggled because I love it. Right? I love the ministry. I love being here. Before I even got hired here, I was in here every day. Wasn't I, Cassie? 5 days a week I'd come in and I'd sit in Tyler's office and annoy him and he'd be studying and I'd come in and I'd just sit there. Right? Why? Because I was in love with the ministry. But what happened was I got hired here and I continued to fall in love with this ministry and I continued to invest myself. I continued to give everything I had. And the problem was this, that I stopped becoming a follower of Jesus and I started becoming like an employee. And that was something that got in the way. But I realized that false gods can promise what only the real God can provide. And so what happens is this. A lot of us go through a lot of different things where we serve a lot of stuff. Let me continue our text, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. So what happens is this. Elijah and Ahab, they have some words, and here's what they said, right? Elijah says, "Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, and eat at Jezebel's table." So Ahab sent unto the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And this is where we're going to stay for a couple seconds, right? Verse 21, Elijah came unto the people and said, "How long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him." And the people didn't say anything. Now that was back then, but I have a feeling that if Elijah was in front of you this morning, Elijah would look at you and say, "How long will you waver between the things that you're serving?" I have a feeling that he would look at every single one of us, and the same message that he talked about back then would have been the same message that he talked about today. How long are you going to serve other gods? How long? Look, if Baal's God, then follow him. But if Christ is God, then follow him. For some of us, man, money is our God. And I have a feeling that if Elijah was here, he would tell you this. He would say, listen, if money is your God, then you need to go to work 60 hours a week, right? Hey, don't worry about coming home early for the family. Don't even worry about calling. Don't check in. Money's God, right? If money is God, then serve God. If that's what's most important, definitely don't tithe. Do not come to church and do not give your money. Don't be buying other people's stuff, right? Be cheap around Christmas. I don't want you to get rid of the money, because if that's the ultimate goal, then serve that goal. Serve that God. For some of us, it's our family. Our family, and this is a real deal one, because a lot of us, man, we worry about like our kids. And I see it all the time because I get to deal with your kids, right? And so they tell on you, and it sucks because I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that. Why are your parents doing that? They grounded you from church? All right, now you know that the youth pastor here is mad when you ground your kids from the youth group, right? That stinks for them, all right? They're trying to serve, but the problem is this. If family is God, then serve it. If family is the most important, look, select sports all year. Hey, miss church for it, because that's more important. Your family's God. Designer clothes. Hey, those dudes better be dressed up. When they do come to church, if and when they do come to church, they better have some nice clothes, right? Hey, if family's God, why don't you quit your job, become a liberal, and stay at home so that you have more time to hang out with them, right? That's what he would say. Hey, quit everything. Stay at home. Serve your family then. If God is the family, then serve it. Maybe it's our home. Maybe some of you are taking mortgages out for a backyard or a kitchen. Or you're one of those people that are like, hey, everybody needs to clean up everything, because if we have company coming over, it better not look like we live here, right? Maybe that's you. Maybe that is your God. Maybe it's your looks. This is a good one. Maybe it's your looks. Maybe you're one of those people that are like, dude, if I'm not in the gym 7 days a week, then, hey, it ain't right. I might as well not do it, all right? Maybe it's your hair. Maybe you need to go spend $275 on your hair, because if that's God, if your looks is God, then you better look good. Do you understand? False gods promise what only the true God can provide. So if that's true, then we have to understand this. If God is God, come on, somebody better help me preach. If God is God, then you better serve God. Well, how do we serve God? Well, I can tell you this. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second commandment is like unto it, that you should love your neighbor as yourself. So if God is God, then sell out. Sell out to it. It's the same message back then and today. How long will you waver? How long will you serve that phone over hanging out with, or over praying? How long will you go with your family and do stuff over getting alone time with Jesus? How long will you put everything else before the only thing that matters? How long? Let's continue our reading. In 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 24, it says, this is the confrontation now. Elijah says, call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God that answers by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. So what does he say? He says, listen, you guys are serving everything. You're serving everything. And today he's saying you're serving your family, your phone, your looks, your jobs, money. You're serving your car before you serve God. And that's insane. You take better care of your God or of your car than you do of yourself spiritually. It's funny to me that we get all excited about sports teams. We worship a sports team before we raise our hand in church. Right? We're at the Bengals Stadium with no shirt on, painted orange with like a bee on my chest. So I'm with my friends, right? We worship things, and we have a hard time coming to church and singing. How long will you serve other gods? Because we know this, that false gods promise what only the true God can provide. So he says, he says, get a bull. Here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to have a showdown. We're going to get a bull. We're going to make an altar. We are going to sacrifice this bull, right? Your God, you're going to go first, right? And if your God sends down fire from heaven and takes this bull, then he's God. Baal is God. I'll admit it. But if he doesn't, and my God does, then we're going to worship him. And they said, sounds good. Right, let's skip a verse, go to 26. It says this. They took the bull which was given to them. They dressed it, called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, "Oh, Baal, Baal, hear us!" Right? But there was no voice, nor any that answered. They leapt upon the altar which was made. I tried to look into this, and some other things reference this to dancing. Right? These people would dance, and they would try to serve their God by dance. And it was kind of funny. I tried to look it up. There's nobody that does like ancient dancing around like sacrificial bulls anymore, right? But I tried to learn. I was going to do it for you. But Tyler and I were working on it in the office. He chose not to, right? So he was dancing in his office all day. No, this is what's going on. So they said, let's get these bulls. We're going to dance. We're going to act like it. We're calling from noon, and nobody's answering. Verse 27, it says this. Elijah starts messing with them. He starts just absolutely messing with them. He says, hey, and if it come to pass noon, that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud. Hey, maybe you're not speaking loud enough. Hey guys, maybe he's not loud. Maybe you're not, hey, dance harder, all right? Sing louder, cry louder, Baal, please, all right? He didn't answer, say it louder, right? Then he says this, maybe he's talking. Hey, maybe he's in a conversation. He doesn't want you to interrupt him. Maybe that's what it is. Hey, maybe he's pursuing. Do you know what that means? That means maybe he's going to the bathroom. All right, Elijah's like, maybe your God is going to the bathroom. Maybe that's why he's not coming. Maybe he's on a journey. Maybe he's sleeping, and he needs to be woken up. So these people, you know, dude, how mad would you be if you were that guy? Like you were the guy dancing around like, hey, we're calling on Baal, it's the sun god, fire, we're good, right? And they're dancing from all day long, right? And he's messing with you. You would be ticked off, right? And then it says this in verse 28. They cried aloud and cut themselves after the manner with the knives and lancets till the blood gushed out upon them, right? So now what do? They're like, holy, we got to take it up a step. Baal's not coming. This is not good. He can't hear us. Let's be louder. All right, let's try something else. Give me that stick or that stone. Right? They start cutting themselves and bleeding all over everything. It's funny that people will go to extreme lengths to worship something that's not even real, isn't it? It's funny how far we tend to go because we worship what we have. And here's how you know you worship stuff. When you leave your phone at home and you're like you're halfway wherever you're going and you got to turn around and get it. That's a false god, man. All right? If you can't go a couple days, if you can't go a couple hours without your phone, that thing's got control of you. You think that you have control over it, but it's controlling you. See, false gods promise what only the true God can provide. And it came to pass when midday was past, and they prophesied until the time of offering of the evening sacrifice. And there was neither voice nor any to answer, nor any that regarded it. Now, these people shouted all day long is what that scripture says right there. They shouted all day long, and we would look at that and say, how foolish are those people? Those people shouted all day long. How stupid. How stupid. They cut themselves. They started dancing. Are you serious? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Here's the problem, though. These people shouted all day long, but we serve false gods all lifetime long. Don't we? Hey, money's always been important, hasn't it? Hey, falling in love has always been important, hasn't it? The perfect marriage, the perfect wedding. We look at this and we say, how foolish are those people cutting themselves, dancing like idiots? How foolish are we? More worried about the dollar than we are our family and what God's entrusted to us. More worried about everything else, it seems like. And here's why. Because we get a false sense of hope from these things. But if you can understand that false gods promise what only the true God can provide, that shifts something. There's a shift in your mentality. Something happens to you when you realize that my hope can't be found in anything. My hope can't be found in my job at the church, even though I love it. My hope cannot be found in my wife because she's so pretty and I feel like I won and somehow and all that. My hope can't be found in my children and hoping they grow up and be in the ministry someday. That's my prayer for them. My hope can't be found in that, though. My hope can only be found in the one thing that can give hope. And his name is Jesus. That's it. Here's the cool part. Let me finish it out with this. How much time do I? Oh, I got plenty of time, right? Chapter 18, verse 37 says, "Hear me, O Lord." Now this is Elijah. He says, "All right, you've had your turn, my turn. Get off." Right? Now he's like, "Hey, it's about to get real. I'm coming at you." Right? There's 850 of you. There's one of me. All right? I serve a God bigger than your whole army put together. Right? I serve a God. He doesn't need an army. He is the army. Right? I'm about to pray to him. You're about to see what he's capable of. Hear me, O Lord. Yeah. Hear me, O Lord, that this people may know that you are the Lord. God, hey, I need you to do something for me. Not for me, though. I need you to prove that you are God so that these people can see that you're God. See, we always go to God and we're asking for everything. And I joke around with the teenagers. "Oh, please, Lord, help me pass this test. Please help me to get this girlfriend," right? You think that's a joke, right? I guarantee you they're praying for girlfriends, right? Please, for some of you, hey, please give me a raise. I'm drowning. I need some money. Elijah went with a different attitude, though, didn't he? God, hey, show up on my behalf, not for me, though, so they see who you are. And then he says something that is profound in itself, "And that thou hast turned their hearts back again." God, show up so that they'll come back. Show up so that they'll come back. So the question is this morning. Right? Student takeover, I'm happy to be here. But the ultimate question is this. It's not about the music. It's not about anything that just happened. The question is, where is your heart this morning? What are you worshiping? Who are you serving? What is it that's so important that takes control? And if you want to know what it is, if you say, "John, I have no idea what it is, man. I don't even know how to find it out." Well, what's taking your time? Where do you put the most time? Now, I know you got to go to work. I understand that. But what's taking your time? Because I would guarantee, I'd venture to say that whatever's taking the most time in your life probably isn't Jesus. How long will you waver between two gods? How long, church? Some of you have walked with Jesus. Some of you have walked away from Jesus. And that's sad because in that moment, it's almost like making a statement. Like, "God, you're not enough." Because I can't be upset with people that don't have a relationship with Jesus. They just don't have a relationship with Jesus. You know, it's aggravating, though, and it's scary. When you have a relationship with Jesus, you know who God is. I know who to serve. I know who gives hope. And then you walk away because stuff just seems more important. Verse 38, it says this. Then God shows up. I like this part. Then the fire of the Lord fell, and it consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. Because what we didn't read was that they built a trench. Elijah said, "Hey, I know my God is God. I'm going to build a trench around this altar. I'm going to fill it up with water." So God shows up. He sends his fire down, right? It takes everything, and it says this in verse 39, this is the hope of people, right? When the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." Where's your heart this morning? Does your heart need to be turned back? Do you need to walk with Jesus again? Have you been saying, here's something that's so real to me, right? I have an accountability with some of the guys in the youth group, and come on out, guys, don't be worried about it. I have accountability with some of these guys, and here's the thing. One of them came up to me and he said, "Listen, man, I'm struggling, and I need you to pray for me." And I said, "Hey, what is it that you're struggling with?" And he said, "Listen, I've been doing this a long time now. I've been a follower of Jesus. Hey, I'm a servant. I'm here early every time. I leave late every time. I'm committed and I'm engaged. But the problem is this. I'm not disgusted with Christianity. I'm not disgusted with church, but I'm not excited about it either. And coming from a teenager, let me tell you something. I've been saved for as long as some of these dudes were alive. And I know that I'm not that old, but I got saved at a young age. Some of you have been saved for double my age. A lot of us in this room have been coming to church. We've been playing the game. We've walked with God. The problem is this, church, that it gets tiresome sometimes, doesn't it? Sometimes it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's not all fun and exciting when the music wasn't good today. I didn't know the song. How was I supposed to worship? Hey, the Bengals game was on. When are we wrapping this up? Isn't that true? How long will you serve two gods? Where is your heart at this morning? Because here's what I know. If I don't know anything else, I know this, that false gods promise what only the true God can provide. So with that being said, if you're in this room under the sound of my voice right now, and you say, John, I do not have a relationship with Jesus. Maybe you're in this room and you say, John, I do have a relationship with Jesus, but it's not fun anymore. The honeymoon's over. It's not exciting. Maybe that's you. The challenge is this. I've been praying all week for you. Longer than that. I've been praying all month for you. What have my prayers been? God, would you turn their hearts back to you? Because I'm going to pray with the same intensity and authenticity of Elijah when he prayed that same prayer for these people. I'm going to pray it for our people then. God, what are they serving? What's going on in their lives? What's more important than you, God? And in this moment, in this hour that I have with you, this opportunity that I get to speak to you, it comes down to this. Are you running? Are you walking away from God? I know you've been saved for years. I know, I get it. But that doesn't mean you get to stop. We have to be faithful, church.